We welcome each of you here this evening to the Board of Commissioners meeting, which is your meeting. We thank you for your attendance. For those that are viewing online, we appreciate your attendance also. I would ask for those that are here this evening, if you would, please make sure our cell phones are on silent, if you would, so it would not disrupt this meeting. Commissioners, before we approve the agenda, I would just like to make note, as you have heard and seen, Commissioner Mitchell is with us remotely this evening. All votes that are conducted will be by roll call per our bylaws, so please note that. Commissioners, you have before you your agendas. Are there any items that you desire to pull or to add to tonight's agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I approve the agenda as is.
Second motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I would like to ask, though, one thing, if you would include it, Commissioner Mark, under closed session, we need to add an additional personnel item. It would be 143-318-11A7. That's North Carolina General Statute. Would you include that?
Yes.
And whoever made the second, Commissioner Smith. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hear none. All those in favor of approving the agenda with the addition, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. The first item we have this evening is the petition of citizens for agenda topics. Mr. Vice Chair, do we have anybody?
There's nobody that's going to speak on the agenda.
Okay, no one for agenda topics. We do have a number of citizens desiring to speak later in the meeting on the general topics. Item 2 is a consent agenda. You have under the consent agenda the minutes of the February 20th, 2023 regular session, the tax releases and refunds, and also the military service person of the quarter resolution. Are there any consent agenda items that you desire to pull?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve that.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hear none. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt? Yes. Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. Under departmental matters, item 3 is the Social Services County Social Services Fund Budget Amendment. Mr. Jeff Merritt. Good evening, sir.
Chairman, Commissioners, County Managers, thank you for having me today. We are coming to the board requesting an additional $100,000 to be utilized in meeting the needs of our individuals through the provision of adult protective services and guardianship services. As you can see in the attached justification, these funds are used for a multitude of reasons. The vast majority of funds are used to assist in helping us secure the safety for individuals, which oftentimes has to be done by putting in services until we can get a more permanent solution for placement when we find individuals through these two services in our adult protective services unit and guardianship in order to ensure there's no further harm to them. So we are asking that today. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $100,000. Any discussion on the motion? Hear none. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt? Yes. Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes.
Chairman Jones, if I could just provide the board with one more update. The county manager asked me to do that. We discussed in these programs that how Creighton County, in comparison with other counties throughout the state, is appointed guardian of the state more oftentimes than in other counties, which we are responsible for keeping up with all their financial and accounting needs and assets. The county manager, I did have a discussion with the clerk to try to find other solutions that would hopefully remove us from doing that. So once we get more information, we'll be happy to try and give you more information about that.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all so much. Have a good night.
Appreciate you. Item 4 is appointments. Commissioners, you have there the pending appointments. You see that list. Does anyone have any nominations this evening for pending? Hear none. Yes, Commissioner Smith?
No, I don't.
Okay. Moving on then to current, you have there, the first item is the Creighton County Planning Board. You have Mr. Bruce Heiss, who does not seek reappointment. Nan, whose district is?
That's my district.
It is your district?
Yeah, I approve it.
Well, he does not seek reappointment, so you want
No,
to,
the new one, I believe.
well, this individual, Ms. Lane, is from District 2, which is,
Okay.
so they would not be from your district. You want to defer consideration?
Yeah.
All right, any objection from the Board of Commissioners?
No.
We will defer consideration and allow Commissioner Mark to bring back someone at the next meeting. You have there the Creighton Aging Planning Board. The first applicant, Benita, what's that last name?
Martina Jar.
Okay, thank you. Seeks appointment to fill the client rep vacant seat. Do we have any, what's the desire of the board?
I would like to nominate Ms. Jar to the Craven Aging Planning Board. She has a heart for service and is excited to make sure that the senior citizens in Craven County have their needs met as they deserve.
Okay, we have the nomination of Ms. Benita. Are there additional nominations from the
Yes.
floor? If there are no additional nominations, we would accept by acclamation. The next would be Joanne Blackwell. What's the desire of the board?
I'd ask that the board accept Joanne Blackwell as a nomination for the board.
Okay, we have a nomination of Joanne Blackwell. Are there any additional nominations for the seat on the Craven Aging Planning Board? Here are no additional nominations. We will also accept that by acclamation. The next is the Fireman's Relief Fund Board. You have there the applicant does not seek reappointment. That is from Township 2, Little Swift Creek. Commissioner Mark, you want to defer?
Yes.
Any objection from the board? Here none, we will defer consideration of that one. The next would be the JCPC. We have an applicant of Albert Lester who seeks appointment. What's the desire of the board?
I would like to nominate Mr. Albert Lester to the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. I believe his years of experience in law enforcement, along with all his time he spent working with young adults, would be a great asset to that committee.
Okay, we have the nomination of Mr. Albert Lester. Are there additional nominations from the board? Here none, we will accept Mr. Lester by acclamation. Are there any current that we have overlooked, commissioners? Here none, you see the upcoming terms expiring in March. Please take note of them. There are a list of them that will be considered at our next meeting. The next item is the county attorney's report. Mr. Eric Grady. Okay, no report. We will move to item 6, which is the petition of citizens for general topics. Mr. Vice Chair, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. First person is Amy Birdless. I'm not sure if I got that right, but that's what it looks like on here. I'm sorry, how do you say?
It's Berdulis.
Okay, Birdless.
We would ask, and I failed to do this, sorry, but if you will, just state your name again for the record as it is recorded and your address, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Berdulis, 2312 Wild Turkey Road. Good evening, Commissioners. I am the president of Colonial Capital Humane Society. I have been volunteering at our shelter for almost 7 years. Over these past years, I've seen firsthand the struggles families have when they can no longer keep their pets for whatever reason. I have seen pets that are not adoptable through tough decisions have to be made, and I have seen the pet overpopulation problem in our county continue to grow. And through all of this, I know the volunteers at CCHS and our other rescues work tirelessly to do their best to solve every situation that comes their way. But please let me say again, we are all volunteers. We are running solely on donated funds and volunteer hours. We take in as many animals as our facility can possibly hold. We hold adoption events on a regular basis, and we are constantly promoting our animals on social media. We have an amazing foster program to tap into when we run out of space, and we do what we can because we have the love of animals. But as a nonprofit, volunteer-run program, we cannot do it alone, and we need the county resources to help us. The residents of Craven County depend on the county shelter to protect the county's animals. They need the shelter to help with stray and feral population, but in recent years, that support has become less and less. I know that CPAS was tasked with reducing euthanasia numbers when it was published that they were ranked number 2 in the state euthanasia. People were not happy, and I can understand that. Unfortunately, it seems that one strategy to reduce those numbers was to stop taking in animals. Over the past several years, owner surrenders have been turned away time and time again. This puts pressure on the local rescues, and our resources are limited just as much. Just this past week, a Craven County resident came to CCH after being turned away from CPAS with 6 puppies. This is a story we continue to hear. CCHS took in 34 puppies ourselves last month, and we have stretched our fosters to the limits, and it breaks our hearts to have to turn people away. So what other changes have we seen in the past year with county resources? I will say I have seen an increase in volunteer support at CPAS over the past few years, and some key volunteers really have tried to make a difference. But I've also seen less open hours to the public, which makes it more difficult for the public to view animals and reclaim their own. I've seen restricted numbers of feral cats that APS is allowed to bring in, which will only increase the population of feral cats. If there is a decrease in euthanasia numbers, I am sure it is in big part to turning animals away. Animal Protective Services is out there making a big difference in Craven County, speaking up for the animals that have no voice, but we have to see it through all the way to the end. Craven County is in a better place than we have ever been with animal control, and now is the time to make change in the county shelter and get everybody on the same team. We need continuity of care and a comprehensive team that can work together for the animals. With the change in personnel at CPAS recently, I can't think of a better time to move the county shelter from the health department to the sheriff's office so we can start doing better. Craven County citizens and the animals deserve better. Thank you for listening, and I hope we can work together.
Thank you.
Next person is Courtney Reichenbach.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Reichenbach. My address is 103 Bridgepoint Drive in New Bern. Good evening. My name is Courtney Reichenbach. As a resident of Craven County, I would like to express my concern that CPASC is not functioning anywhere close to its potential. I'm standing here to speak on basic human decency. When a dog is left to sit in a cage with a broken limb for an entire week without veterinary care and no record of pain medication given, when rescue has volunteered to come pick up that animal, I have a real problem with that. This same dog ultimately had to have a limb amputated for quality of life, and veterinary assessment was that his injuries would have been extremely painful. This is just one of countless examples. It's one thing to need to save animals from the hands of suffering from some of our county's residents. It's entirely another thing that they need to be saved from our own shelter's leadership. As a resident and taxpayer, I see our county shelter as an extension of myself, and I am ashamed by current practice. I hold myself to a higher standard of care than this, and I think you should too. We've all heard the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. That's where we are now in Craven County. In contrast, Brunswick County can cite evidence of decreased euthanasia rates after the Sheriff's Department took over the local shelter from under the Health Department. With approximately 70% of households in the Southeast having at least one companion animal, as elected officials, it is in your best interest to realize what an important voting platform this is to your constituents. Putting political agendas aside, the animals and citizens of Craven County deserve better. I firmly believe if the Sheriff's Department is allowed to take over CPASC, there will be nothing but the highest standard of care moving forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next person would be Carol Creighton.
My name is Carol Creighton, live at 905 Hampton Way in Trent Woods. I stand before you this evening to talk about a disturbing scenario that happened at our shelter. I'm a board member of FOSO, which is the Friends of Craven County Sheriff's Office. I have been since its inception. One main focus of our organization is providing emergency vet care for animals that are picked up by APS. We provide this much needed service as before our formation, the majority of these animals were immediately euthanized. And we understand the county budget cannot cover this. In our 2 to 3 years, we have raised approximately $30,000 to $35,000 to cover the vet bills for these animals at no cost to the county. On August 26th of last year, a little dog was picked up by APS with very painful and serious eye and rectal issues. The dog was taken to the vet, diagnosed, and given medication. The officer also received other medications that needed to be administered daily, one of which was a pain medication. After the vet visit, the dog was taken to the shelter and placed in the county's care. with the vet instructions and with the medications. Upon return to the shelter on August 29th, the APS officer checked on the dog only to find that none of the 4 different medication containers had even been opened. This was verified by the vet. This dog sat in the county's care all weekend and was neglected. Guys, we're better than this. The very things that we're charging our citizens for, we are guilty of at this shelter. The board and the health director made it both an ordinance, this board and the health director made it both an ordinance and policy that animals needing immediate vet care when the county facility is open must go to the county facility regardless of urgent need for that care. Only when it is closed can the officer, does she have the authority to take the emergency cases to a veterinarian. And what we found is that the animals needing immediate vet care that are taken to the shelter during the open hours receive none, as there are no records of any care, nor is there any realistic budget to seek outside vet care. This dog, after discovery of the now ruptured eye and disregard of prescribed medications, was immediately taken back by the vet to the APS. Veterinarian then suggested and performed euthanasia due to the dog's pain and suffering. Also paid all of these bills for this poor dog, not the county. The county has a part-time vet. Why there are no accessible records for any of these animals mentioned, that the county's vet should have been aware of these. Why are y'all making ordinances and policy that put the burden on the shelter to get vet care when clearly our shelter is not following state law about such care? We would love to know as a group about the outcome of the animals that we have vetted and paid this money for.
Thank you.
Tim, Colin Tony.
Good evening. My name is Tim Colin Tony. I live at 104 Aspen Court in Creighton County. Most of you know me. If you don't, I am the treasurer for Friends of Creighton County Sheriff's Office. I come before you tonight to make it known that I was prepared to speak in this forum back at the December 22 meeting to ask the county for reimbursement for a veterinarian bill from February 15th, 2022. Yes, I realize that's over a year ago. In the amount of $469.49, which I have provided a copy labeled Document A. At that meeting, before I got to speak during the intermission, I was informed by a commissioner that there was no need to talk about the check because it was being taken care of, or it was being taken care of in the immediate future. The check had been taken care of, or it was in the mail. I was promised a follow-up would be done about a week later. That promise was kept. I don't think I can mention the commissioner's name, but thank you for keeping your promise. I received a phone call, and I was informed that the county could not reimburse us because we are a nonprofit organization. Because of this, I was told that the check was instead mailed to the owner of the dog. I have a few issues with that reasoning. One, because we had been reimbursed before. There was an issue with a case animal at the county shelter with a parvo outbreak. Two, the owner basically was refunded their fine. Absolutely no consequences. I have provided a packet of documents, and they are labeled as such. Document B is a copy of our bank statement from February. You can see we paid the emergency vet bill at the vet hospital in Havelock for $469.49. It posted to our account on February 18th. The animal was picked up by Creighton County Animal Protective Service. The animal was taken to the county shelter, Document C. Subsequently, the owner claimed the dog from the county shelter after veterinary services were performed. At that time, the owner paid the county the amount of the bill, which was $469.49. I have provided Document D of a conversation between the county shelter director and the APS director, in which we were told we would be reimbursed. We were also told by the health director via email on July 6th of 2022 and other department directors that we would be reimbursed, yet we have continued to ask on 7 different occasions from June 9th through this evening for reimbursement. We replied to Document E and replied yes, we would like to be reimbursed. We are requesting that Fosco be reimbursed for the amount of $469.49. The owner reclaimed the dog and at that time paid the cost of the veterinarian bill to the county. Therefore, Fosco should be reimbursed. This will enable us to use that money to care for other animals that need emergency medical care. In the past, when an animal is not claimed, Fosco pays the veterinarian bill. and it is paid in full to help give that animal a better chance of adoption and avoid being put to sleep. It is our opinion that our organization should not be slighted because the county refused to reimburse us after they told us we would be. Instead, reimburse the owner. It seems in this case the county intentionally tried to avoid reimbursing us. I don't understand why that is, why we are treated like an adversary. We are a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization that, yes, my time's up. Thank you.
Sir. Thank you.
Hiker Gonzalez.
Hiker Gonzalez, 125 Turkey Quarter Creek Road, Cove City. Good evening. My last comments to this board at the January meeting involved laying out a case that since 2016, when we led the state in euthanasia stats, our numbers and methods of record keeping have been steadily and increasingly inconsistent at our county animal shelter. Tonight I continue with 2018, the year of Hurricane Florence. At that time, we were without a shelter director again. The hurricane was anticipated to be the worst we'd ever seen, and it turned out to live up to expectations. A colleague and I from the Humane Society went to our county shelter to see if they needed help in preparation, foster homes, anything to help the animals. When we arrived, they were closed. We were denied any access at all by name. We were told under no circumstances we nor anyone from the Humane Society was allowed into that shelter for any reason. Within days of that visit, we were hit head-on by Florence. The Humane Society shelter was empty as all of their animals were sent to fosters, yet calls were ringing off the hook for help as the flooding began. Remember, our county shelter was closed. To condense a very long story, my colleague and I opened up a temporary emergency shelter with the help of many, many wonderful people. We took in over 400 animals as lines were out the door for help, including the New Bern Police Department, the Sheriff's Office, and citizens from all over Eastern Carolina. Within days, the gentleman left in charge of the county shelter reached out to us for help. They had 17 dogs that weren't euthanized before the storm that needed to be rescued as our county shelter didn't have enough personnel. They had no cats at all. They were all euthanized before the storm, all of them. We were able to bring in the SPCA to rescue the county shelter dogs, leaving 2 with us that were later adopted. Our intakes had to stay because we had no idea if the owners would be looking for them after the storm. All in all, the county's handling of this was beyond any mismanagement we'd ever witnessed, and I am betting to this day there is no plan in place to prevent this nightmare from happening again. Fast forward to our 2018 state reported numbers. A new director was hired, and in her year and state report, there are 738 dogs missing and unaccounted for, and 889 cats missing and unaccounted for. That's a total of 1,627 missing animals that went through our county shelter in 2018. In 2019, the then new director was fired and yet another director came on board. By some miracle, she reported to the state that we had broken every record in adoptions, cats at 1,549 and dogs at 930. Yet when I asked for any verification, I was ignored or denied. Now, I will tell you, during our time running the emergency shelter, we had to beg and plead to get only 13 cats to a rescue, and that took months of doing. So you can understand my surprise with these numbers. It's my understanding that director is now back at our shelter. The worst part of it all is that this continues.
Thank you.
Apologize for mispronunciation of this name, but I can't read it. It looks like Wileen. Okay, Chris Barta, did you want to speak? I'm sorry, I'll get her next. I'm sorry, your name was scratched out initially and I missed it, so sorry.
Bear with me, my arm's kind of stuck.
Sir.
Hello, my name is Chris Barr. I live at 404 Gatewood Drive. I would like to introduce you to someone. Fred. Now, Fred, that's what's left of Fred. Fred was brought to the shelter and given over as an owner surrender. Each of you know about Fred. Each of you do. I wish you all could have met Fred, but he was killed at CPAS. However, the public was told that he went to a home in New Jersey. How about that? When the public was lied to by the director. Why was this puppy killed? We all want to know. Fred was one of thousands who have been ignored. This doesn't include the medically ignored, as we heard recently, just a few seconds ago, and killed animals. Lies and deceit that come out of that shelter must stop, and you have the ability to do this. This board knows this, as information has been shared with each of you. But yet this board continues to refuse to accept responsibility and make the required changes. Solutions have been addressed, yet are consistently ignored. And this board, along with the health director, have continued to turn a blind eye to this horror. The only way to clean up this mess is for everyone who continues to ignore this to conduct a full forensic audit. Then and only then will this horror stop. Lack of accountability and undocumented euthanizations are unvalidated. I was a comptroller for over 10 years. When numbers don't match, numbers don't match. I went through the old educational system where 2 + 2 was 4, okay? However, today, it seems like numbers don't matter. How can CPAS even claim a decline in euthanasia percentages when there isn't fully documented and accountable numbers? How? I cannot see it. Very little is done to show the public the great animals that are housed there, and they're available for adoptions. You have the ability to stop this and assume responsibility. Above your head is "In God We Trust." I find it really ironic. If you trusted God, wouldn't you want to do right by him? I pray and hope that God has more compassion and understanding for each of you than you do for the animals under your charge. We have more information to share with the public.
Sir.
We will be
time's
there.
up. Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Okay, now, is it Wileen? I'm sorry,
Wileen.
Wileen.
Good evening.
My name's Hamby, and I'm just a concerned citizen in the community I'm from. I'm from Fort Barnwell.
Hold on just a second. The clock is not moving. Okay. Okay.
If you would step up to the mic so we can hear you clearly.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is my first time attending the meeting, and I'm from Fort Barnwell, North Carolina, of course. And I've been working in that community. I'm concerned about the community, so forth, about animals. But since 2014, in that community, we have no activity for the children. There's a community where the new management came in, and that community is not allowed to have recreation activity for the children, toys and so forth in the yard. So we've been doing it since 2014 when was doing activity. There's no job in the community, very poor community. I have yet to meet a representative for the area to talk about what they're doing for Fort Barnwell and how we can get something in the area for Fort Barnwell. I've been creating jobs. I had about 8 people working before the pandemic started. And then we lost some contract on that deal. So I'm trying to create those jobs for the people that live there because they have no transportation. They have very issue problems with drugs or whatever it may be. So they are not able to get to these jobs. So I've been doing that for transportation and so forth. So my question is how I would get help in that community. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker would be Luke Elliott.
Thank you. My name is Captain Luke Elliott. I reside at 290 Shoreline Drive, New Bern. I'm a representative of the Civil Air Patrol, specifically Cunningham Field Composite Squadron. There are members in the squadron in the audience today, and I'd like to thank those that are present. Our Finance Officer, Chuck Bertolus, the Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Lewis and his father, and my wife, Lieutenant Susanna Elliott, who's been my logistic officer for 35 years. To the Craven County Board of Commissioners, thank you for your service and allowing me the time to petition you on behalf of the Civil Air Patrol and my squadron. The purpose of the petition is tonight is to alert you to the presence, what we, the Civil Air Patrol, can offer. The Civil Air Patrol has started in 1941, searching the eastern coastline for German U-boats. My squadron actually is one of the oldest squadrons in the Civil Air Patrol and is currently meeting weekly at the buildings located at the Marine Corps Base, Cherry Point. The Civil Air Patrol presently has three main primary missions. First mission is to save lives, search and rescue. On January 22nd of this year, North Carolina Emergency Management requested Civil Air Patrol's help to locate missing persons in Orange County. Within a short period of time, Incident Command Center was opened and 37 Civil Air Patrol volunteers were mobilized. Furthermore, this missing person was found in North Carolina. Civil Air Patrol was recognized for another life-saving find. In addition, February 26th this year, 70 Civil Air Patrol members were involved in a search and rescue mission in Scotland County. Last year, Civil Air Patrol nationally has attributed to saving over 100 lives. Civil Air Patrol is involved in other life-saving measures like airlifting supplies to areas in need during Hurricane Florence, assisting DA during illicit drug activity searches, providing aerospace photography for FEMA. My squadron currently has 44 adult members, which includes 15 pilots that fly our Cessna 172. Recently, our pilots and air crew have been involved in training of Army Control Personnel Towers, and nationally, the Civil Air Patrol has logged over 92,000 flight hours. Second primary mission has been shaping the future of young women and men, such as our Cadet Lewis here tonight. My squadron is currently made up of 30 cadets, ranging anywhere from 12 to 18. We teach these cadets core values like integrity, excellence, respect, and volunteerism. In terms of volunteering, our squadron has participated in the February 4th, 2023 Craven County Clean Sweep. The third primary mission is providing aerospace education to the cadets and the community at large. Last year, Civil Air Patrol nationally provided thousands of students educational opportunities in science, technology, and mathematics. Locally, on February 21st this year, 3 Craven County educators had a flight in our squadron's plane and taking part in the Membership Teachers Orientation Flight Program. I can tell you from personal experience, the cadets and adults from my squadron truly care about people and have a desire to serve where they can. However, uniforms, emergency service supplies, fuel, and maintenance of the aircraft and our van all cost. Civil Air Patrol is an auxiliary of the United States Air Force. Therefore, we do get some subsidy from them, but does not cover all the cost. We depend on grants, donations, and a great deal of volunteer hours. Thank you for allowing me to petition you on behalf of the Civil Air Patrol and my squadron, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
You got a lot done in a short time.
That's it.
You have a brochure of the speech in front of you, too.
Thank you.
Diane Capo?
Good evening.
Diane Capo, 212 Buckskin Drive in New Bern. Again, my name is Diane Capo. I'm a member of the Board of Directors for Colonial Capital Humane Society. I started volunteering with the organization about 5 years ago, and during that time became so much more aware and educated about the current problems we have in our county with pet overpopulation. I see our volunteers and fosters work tirelessly to try to make an impact in this area, and I'm continually amazed at how this community shows up for the animals who have no voice. I'm here tonight to speak to advocate for the transfer of responsibility of the Craven Pamlico Animal Services Center from the Health Department of Craven County to the Craven County Sheriff's Department. I've seen the tremendous impact the APS team has made in our community in the few years that they've been in existence, and I can only imagine the impact that the transfer of responsibility would have on our ability to support the community even further. As a nonprofit, we have limited resources and receive no government funding to support us in the work that we do in the community. Yet over the past few years, we found ourselves continually stepping up more and more to assist the county where our municipal shelter falls short. Our owner surrender requests are at an all-time high, and I believe that's in part to the county shelter turning away owner surrenders or placing them on a waiting list. I also do not see a strong effort from the CPASC team to promote animals on their social media or conduct adoption events to improve their adoption rates and create more space for the intakes. We need more oversight and accountability for our county shelter. Transferring responsibility to the Creighton County Sheriff's Office would provide that. With the proven success and community support that the Animal Protective Services Division has received, taking over the county shelter would further their effort on educating our citizens on responsible pet ownership, the critical importance of spay and neuter, and working together with all of our resources in the community to save even more animals. In just the few years that APS has existed, they have built an active social media audience of over 11,000 members. They are active daily and sharing not only the stories of rescues that they conduct, but also actively promoting animals that need adoption for both our organization and the county shelter. They've also worked to establish a fund by donations to help with the care and treatment of injured animals when the alternative fate without this would be euthanasia. They are creating even more tools than what they have available to them for the good of the citizens and the animals of this county. And CCHS has also developed an incredibly effective partnership with APS and the Creighton County Sheriff's Office. I think if you ask the citizens of Creighton County what they want, you would hear an overwhelming response in favor of this transfer of responsibility to the Creighton County Sheriff's Office. Imagine the impact that we could achieve if the Sheriff's Office did have responsibility for the shelter and the further animals that we could save. Thank you so much for your attention and consideration.
Thank you.
Ray Griffin.
Amen. God bless you and God bless America. Amen.
Amen.
Ray Griffin from Vassboro, North Carolina, the heartbeat of Creighton County. CBD is what I want to talk about right fast, but I got two things. The CBD stores are springing up everywhere. There's at least 5 or 6 down 55 starting in Creighton County, and they are springing up like they're going out of style. Just for a second, lack of quality control, the manufacturing process may be introducing harmful biological and chemical contaminants. The lack of safety standards, accuracy, labeling, quality control may lead to concerns for ultimate attention for children that take this drug. There's potential harm surrounding CBD products, and FDA is not even approving it. And they're saying things that are coming in these CBD oils are contaminants. They fill them with, just like do fentanyl, whatever. Some of them fill the oil. But what I'm saying is they get some incentive. But also, while I was visiting one of these stores, and I noticed that they had a flag there one time. There was a pole about 30 foot high, had a flag years ago that was probably 10 foot by 15. So I went into the proprietor and I asked him, whiten the flag back up. Why aren't you flying Old Glory? And of course, it's owned by some immigrants, foreigners. And they said, well, we taking it down and we don't plan on putting it back up. So I went in and I talked to them, and they said, if we would donate a flag, I said, if we donate, well, would you let us put it back up? And they said, yes. So I'm coming to you tonight, ask you maybe, where we can get a flag. I need one at least 10 foot by 15 foot long, and I need some help. The pole is there, but it's got some contraption in it, gears where the wires go up, and I do not know how to work this to put the flag back up in process. And I know Creighton County's got some people who can lead me in the right direction. But I said I need some help. We need to get Old Glory flying again. We have let these immigrants take over, come in, open these stores up and do what they wish to do, and even get entitlements to do this. So why can't we put a flag back up and let it grow? So I ask you tonight to help me find a flag, put me in the right direction with donations. It's not going to cost all that much, but to put that flag back up flying so that we can see Old Glory waving once again. They said they would not do it, but they said it would be okay if we do it. So if you would, you can contact Chad Braxton. We talked about it this morning. We went and looked at it. Contact me and get up with us, and we'll put Old Glory flying again. Amen? America needs to get back to being America. We have let the migrants take over and everybody else take over, and CBD. We had over 100,000 people last year died of overdose in America. And Pamlico County, one of the leading counties now of overdose. And this is nothing but a gateway drug. These stores are selling items that they don't care less whether you live or die or whatever. It's a gateway drug, and children are picking this stuff up and going into alcohol and overdosing. So I ask for your help, some way, somehow. If you can help us get a flag up and get Old Glory flying, I appreciate it, and God will bless you once again, and God bless America. Amen?
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker would be Carol Williams.
Good evening, Honorable Commissioners. My name is Carol Williams, and I reside at 2906 Moore Avenue in New Bern. I am the coordinator of Duff Fest, which is an acronym for Duffy Field Unity Family Festival Easy Slacker Time, which grew out of the Greater Duffield Residents Council. I'm requesting a one-time donation of $2,000. This is our first and last time to request this from our honorable commissioners. We have been in existence for 23 years, a nonprofit working to expand our programs and offerings to the community. This will be our first Duff Fest we have had since Florence and the COVID epidemic. We did, however, partake in partnership with Juneteenth on last year, and we did not get any returns. We have planned this year's Duff Fest to be at our user spot at Henderson Park, which is on Chapman Street here in New Bern. It is located where Stanley White Recreation Center used to be. We are short the cost of providing the community and surrounding areas with attractions that will attract people. I have provided information to our honorable commissioners on our Duff Fest. Your consideration and attention to this request would be most appreciative. Are there any questions or concerns?
We thank you, and you have provided the clerk your information?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa Spinson. Sorry.
Lisa Spensieri, Spensieri. I reside at 2425 Tram Road. I have been a citizen of Craven County for over 30 years. Don't age me. And I've been volunteering with Colonial Capital Humane Society for 3. I want you to answer one question. You've heard many people get up and speak about this. Tell me one reason why the health department is running the animal shelter and not sheriff. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 22 years in this county. I've paid county taxes for over 30 years. I don't understand how this board can ignore the citizens time after time making these complaints about your shelter. You must investigate. I'm sure board members have animals. You guys live in the community. These are your tax dollars as well. You can't keep ignoring this. We will come again and again to every meeting until we have an answer why these services aren't connected. People rescuing the animals, bringing them to a shelter where they're being intaked by county workers, only to, it's like layers and layers and layers. Shouldn't we be peeling this onion, making it a little simpler for everybody? Especially the animals. At the end of the day, it all comes back to welfare of animals. That's why I volunteer. Hours is what I was doing all day long today, is volunteering with this organization. We put our heart and soul into this organization, but the county doesn't help. I am telling you right now, you need to open your eyes and investigate what is going on at that county shelter. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's the last one. Thank you to each of you who spoke this evening. We have taken notes. The county manager and the staff have it also. And for those that had questions, we will make sure that we get with you. We've got your address. Thank you. Next item is the county manager's report. Mr. Jack Veit.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one item. Just to announce on March 20th, your regularly scheduled commission meeting will actually be at the Cooperative Extension Auditorium at 300 Industrial Drive. That's out of the industrial park on the Clarks Road interchange. The reason for that is we'll have a work session and lunch immediately following that in that same facility. So 8:30 on the 20th of March will be at the Cooperative Extension Auditorium.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the county manager? Here none, we will go now to Commissioner's report. We will begin this evening with Commissioner Mitchell. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity, but I have nothing to comment on.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Howard.
No report. I got most of it out last week with my report, but I will say thanks to thank the folks that showed up to talk about their issues today. A lot of you guys I already know and I've talked to and had conversations with over the years, not just recently, and invite you guys to continue to come back when you need to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mark.
Yes, I'm on the hospital board, and there was an announcement, news release made today at New Bern, North Carolina, Chapel Hill, March 7, 2023. UNC Health and Carolina Health System announced today that the two organizations have mutually agreed to end their affiliation, which has been in effect since July 1st, 2021. Carolina East and UNC Health have reached a mutual agreement that it is in our best interest to no longer maintain an affiliation agreement. We thank you, UNC Health, and support and collaboration with the duration of the partnership. And I would say that there's a news release, and anybody wants to read it, it'll be out today or tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Hunt.
I don't have a report tonight, sir.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Smith.
I have one. On March 13th, I will hold a town hall meeting at 7:00 p.m. for the Pembroke and Pleasant Hill communities at the Pembroke Community Center at 200 Moore Avenue, New Bern, North Carolina. I have arranged to have representatives from the Health Department, Senior Citizens, East Carolina Workforce Development, and Transportation Departments to provide information about services and programs and offerings available to the citizens. The staff will be available, and I will also be available to answer questions at the end of this town hall meeting. This is designated for Pembroke and Pleasant Hill. However, any District 3 citizens who wish to attend are certainly welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chair Booker.
Yeah, one thing, last week, a group of us boarded the Creighton County van and toured James City. As many of you know, we have worked during the last couple of years to tear down, renovate a number of facilities in James City. When I took office 4 years ago, we had over 75 buildings that were vacant. Many of them were used for drugs and alcohol parties. As of right now, about half of those buildings have been torn down with the help of a lot of people. And the one group that's probably done the most is Baptists on Mission. They have a facility on Cherry Point Road. They have had volunteers here every month since the hurricane. So for 4 years plus, volunteers from all over the country have come in and worked to either renovate or tear down homes of people who couldn't do it themselves. This week, there are a whole lot of kids from Penn State University who chose to use their spring break to come to Craven County, North Carolina, and work to tear down 4 buildings that have been an eyesore for some time. So my hat's off to these students. We hear a lot of negative things about students today. Here's a group of kids that are coming in and making a difference. So next week, University of North Carolina, excuse me, oh man, let me correct that. North Carolina State University students will be coming in and they will be volunteering. So these kids are part of Christian organizations on their campuses. So I just wanted to, again, give a shout out to them, to thank them for their service, and to thank the Baptists on Mission who continue to improve our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Miss Leslie Young, are you there in the other room? Okay. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening. Thank you. Just like many of you, or every owner in this county, these are my properties that we own, my family owns. And we cannot let the night go by without, speaking about the new valuation that we've had in Creighton County. You came and you've done an outstanding job in keeping this board informed. We appreciate that, being forthcoming. You gave us, I think at our last meeting, an average across the county of around 43% increase.
42.03.
42.03. Like many of you, though, in this list here, I've got some properties that are almost 100% increase.
That's right.
And every commissioner here has, and staff, we've taken a lot of calls. That's what we're here for, to listen to folks. A great concern that I have, and was not aware, it's not a pointing finger at you, but a lot of the homes, especially in the rural area of our county, that in past revals have not seen great increases. Homes that were built in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. They're the properties that I'm seeing anywhere from a 60% over 100%. I know one of our properties that we own went up 98%. It was a house built in 1946. That's a lot of concern to me. It's a big concern. So I state that for the record. Also, I've had a lot of questions from rural Creighton County about these notices that pertain to farmland. So there's three, and if you want to look at this one so you can make sure you understand it, but there's an assessed value, excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. There's assessed value, there's a present use value, and there's a taxable value.
That's correct.
Will you explain that a little bit for those that may be viewing online this evening?
Sure, I'll be glad to. I'll address this immediately, and then I'd like to give you another update.
That's fine.
Okay. An assessed value is one that more of a layman's term may be considered like a market value. What is the value of a property if placed on the open market? What is it actually worth on the market? That tends to be equivalent to what we call an assessed value. The assessor appraised it, okay? A PUV, a present use value, is one that has to be qualified for, okay? The property owner has to meet certain qualifications and mostly used by our farmers, okay? And there's a discount in the value. Now, if that property should ever sell, there is what's called a rollback, deferred. So, and that's the difference of what is a market value, also known as assessed value, and what is a PUV value, okay? Because there is a discount in taxes paid when there is a PUV, but it has to be qualified for. Now, everything I'm speaking on is from the state. This is not a Creighton County policy or anything like that. This is state qualified. Then we have what's called a taxable value. One way to think of a taxable value is very popular would be for our elderly. There are certain qualifications that must be met to receive an elderly exemption. Okay, so we have an assessed value, and when we apply exemption, so to speak, now we have a taxable value, the value that you actually pay the taxes on. Okay. Does that give?
Great explanation. Thank you.
Okay. If I may take a minute?
Yes,
I have a question on just those.
Yes, sir.
Any of those, like assessed value, PUV, or taxable value, any of those discounts given are then returned upon sale, correct? So once those properties are sold, or inherited, does that discount have to be paid back at that point?
Present use value, when we have a parcel of land that is receiving present use value, that portion is sold to a new owner who will not continue the present use value. There is then what we call a rollback tax. And all it is the difference for a certain number of years as to what that farmer would have paid at a market value versus what they actually paid. Now, for an exemption, we talk about the taxable value, say the elderly exemption. No, there is no rollback or deferred back on that. Okay.
Those are all state laws. I don't want
State laws.
Nothing we're doing. Okay.
That's right. We're just one of the 100 counties that are like that. Okay. If I, yes, ma'am.
I've had several calls as well.
Okay.
One of them is, I understand what we've done, but you're saying about the appraised value. They are saying to me, as far as they know, there's been no appraisal of their properties, and they don't understand how they could have an appraised value that's so much higher than the current value that they were aware of without an actual person coming out and appraising their property.
Okay. Twofold on that. Okay.
A few minutes before the meeting.
Okay. At some point, yes, an appraiser has been to their property at some point. I can't tell you the exact day or time. Oftentimes, there may not be the owner at home, okay? Because remember, we do not go inside houses.
I understand.
Okay. The most emphasis that is put on the value comes from the inventory that we already have on that owner's property card. Okay. When we take the sales, because remember, each parcel has what we call a neighborhood code. And when we take like kind, they share in common that neighborhood code. So when one of those neighborhood codes sells recently, then we take that sale and capture it and immediately compare it to that property owner, to that subject. Okay, does that help clarify a little bit?
When one person sells, that affect everybody in the neighborhood in a positive way or a negative way when just one, because one property in a neighborhood could have so much more or so much less value than the other properties in the same neighborhood.
Part of appraisal methodology is one sale does not determine the market.
Okay.
Okay, but you've got to remember too, we are not lacking sales.
I understand.
There are plenty of sales for us to use, okay? And I've tried to communicate that over the last.
Not all communities.
That's correct, that's correct. And that's, yes, ma'am, leave it at that.
All right, if you will, give us an update.
Sure, okay, an update. If I had to describe these last 5 days, no surprises. Now, maybe some surprises to the owners, but how a revaluation typically goes, no surprises in ours. We were on schedule for Wednesday, March 1st, on schedule. Notices were in the mailbox, just as we had planned. Our phones began ringing Wednesday. I spent probably Wednesday and Thursday answering the most popular question of the tax rate. And remember, on February 20th, I had communicated to you what the tax department has to say about the tax rate. And honestly, once I gave that one PDF, it satisfied the person who was asking. They were okay with that. They understood, okay? We have spent Friday and today, probably the single most popular question is, what is it? I got this in the mail, what is it? Okay, so we explain that. We have those who perfectly understand it, and we've had some real good returns from owners that they supply evidence. I had one today to turn in a recent appraisal on their property for other reasons. It was fantastic. I have been very encouraged by what I've received, that the owners are verifying their property card. That helps an appraiser tremendously, and we've allowed that capability. Steve, I was put on short notice. I'm going to put you on short notice. Is there any way you can pull up our website? Just the home page. Let me give you a little numbers. You know I like numbers. As of the end of today, since Wednesday, we have received exactly 180 appeals. 180 since Wednesday, March 1st. Of the 180, 22 appeals have been submitted by our revaluation email address. I've been very encouraged that of the 180, 33 of those have come in by submitting an appeal online. Remember, that's a new feature for Creighton County, 33. So 125 have either been mailed in or have been a walk-in to the appeals. There, Steve? Good. All right. Yes, ma'am.
You've received 180 appeals.
Total.
Have you received, is that including anyone who questioned that has not appealed?
No, ma'am. It is a completed
Just an appeal.
It has to be signed,
Gotcha.
dated, and submitted. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Many of our emails and our calls, we use that opportunity to direct the folks to our website. Because honestly, I don't know that there's a question I've had that could not be answered on our website. So I wanted to show you from my February 20th presentation what we have available, and I think it'll help you answer your questions as well from the citizens. Go to www.cravenscountync.gov/tax. See at the very top in the middle there, Creighton County Revaluation 2023 is solid and the real estate market is strong. Remember, that was my communication to you. You go right below that, there is the 30-minute presentation that I gave to you on February 20th. We consolidated that. You can have my entire presentation. Right below that, the first one that says click here for the Revaluation 2023 presentation, February 20th, 23. That is the 7-page PDF. Chairman, that includes that third page that shows how we're right in line with the other counties. Shows all of that. Okay, that's my entire presentation in PDF. The second one is here. There you can click here to search your comparable sales. Remember, that's a new feature we have for Creighton County for this reval. Owners can go right to that. And then lastly, click here to submit your real estate appeal. And we've already had 33 appeals submitted there. You don't know about the video, or you may not know about the video right below that, but take the time. That's a 5-minute video. What I was trying to communicate in the creation of that video is I have enjoyed being an outsider to Creighton County because I just so appreciate all that Creighton County has to offer and the beauty of it.
Don't be an outsider, be an insider now.
Well, I'm an insider now, that's right. Yes, ma'am. But I'm not a native. And I just think there is so much to Creighton County that I thoroughly enjoy. So I tried to communicate that in the beginning of the video. Then I took, as a reminder, a lot of the services that we offer in Creighton County through county government. I find so often that taxpayers, when they come in to pay their taxes, they tend to lose sight just exactly what their tax dollars are going toward. And you can see through this video a lot of the services, a lot of big services there. So I just wanted to remind the viewer as to what some of the services their tax dollars go to. And then I tie that into how this revaluation ties into that. One last thing, the real estate market. Remember, I came to you on February 20th, so let's see how we shaped out for February. Do you remember my portion about the 1 to 90 days is considered an excellent market when a property has been placed on the market? In January, we had 45 days on market, and we finished out in February having 54 days on market. We're still in a very excellent category of days on market. Our percentage increase in value, 15.66%. Our values are still there, still steady, still strong, taking just a few more days longer for it to actually go under contract, but our market is still excellent. Our market is still strong. That's really the role of an appraiser, is to take the market, which is the buyer and the seller, and appraise all properties based on what the market has been telling us. Okay. Chairman, any questions?
Any questions from the board? Vice Chair.
Not a question, but a comment. I've had a number of calls, as we all probably have. The one thing that I think is really important that everyone understands is that when we get our budget work done in the next couple of months, we are going to lower the tax rate. So while someone's home may have gone up, pick a number, 43%, we're going to lower the tax rate. I can't say it'll be 43%, but it will definitely come down. So you're not going to pay 43% more in taxes than you did this past year. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people didn't understand when they got that thing in the mail. That, oh, one person said to me, my taxes are going up 50%. No, they're not. But we don't know how much yet because we haven't done our budget. But that's an important point that everyone needs to understand.
Commissioner Booker, I really appreciate you bringing that out and saying that, because as the tax department, we're not in position to make that comment. So I very much appreciate you stepping up to say that. Thank you.
Commissioner Howard.
And I'll just say, and I haven't received a lot of calls, but a few. That's probably because of the job you guys do. The calls folks I have talked to, even if they don't like their percentage, they like the response from Craven County, your office,
Thank you.
and how quick that's
Very
been,
much.
and
Thank you very
professional. So I'm going to say, it's hard to be popular when you're doing this, but it seems like you guys are managing to do that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I
Any
appreciate
other
it.
comments, questions?
Ms. Smith, Commissioner Smith, anything before I close?
Thank you for
Thank you.
responding spur on the moment. Thank you. All right, Commissioners, any other comments you have? If not, we do have a closed session. We're requested to go into pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A3 to consult with the attorney to protect the attorney-client privilege. Also, North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A7 to discuss a personnel item. Do I have a motion that we go into closed session?
So moved.
I've got a motion and a second to go in closed session. Any discussion on the motion? Hear none, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt? Yes. Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. We're going to take about a 10-minute recess, and then we'll come back.